If you strip away the social context, the human greeting ritual is an incredibly bizarre physical mechanism. Two strangers approach, lock their upper appendages palm to palm, apply firm compressive pressure, and pump their arms vertically in synchronized rhythm. We perform this action dozens of times a week, largely on autopilot. But there is a hidden biological layer to this interaction. Immediately after releasing that grip, humans subconsciously lift their hands to their faces and sniff them, processing chemical data from the other person's skin. This diagram compares the physical footprint of our greetings, and it illustrates a documented liability. A traditional handshake involves roughly 30 square inches of palmar surface contact. Compared to a fist bump, it transfers 4 times the bacterial and viral load, leading many healthcare centers to actively lobby for its complete eradication from hospitals. Yet as doctors try to ban it, governments are doubling down. Nations like Denmark have legally mandated the physical handshake as a hard requirement for citizenship, turning an everyday greeting into a controversial test of cultural compliance. We are caught between treating this gesture as a biological threat and enforcing it as a legal necessity. To understand if this social protocol is actually obsolete, we have to rewind history and see exactly why we adopted such a risky, germ-swapping ritual in the first place. In the ancient Mediterranean world, the threat of sudden violence was a constant reality. Because the vast majority of humans are right-handed, the right hand was the weapon hand, the one designated to draw a sword or grip a spear. Extending that dominant hand forward, completely empty, provided immediate visual proof that you were not preparing an attack. We find the earliest physical record of this gesture carved into a 9th century BCE Assyrian bas-relief. Here, 2 heavily armed monarchs clasp hands to publicly seal a military alliance. It was a calculated display of mutual vulnerability. The core gesture survived into the Middle Ages, but the protocol required a major update to address the specific dangers of feudal society. Medieval mates added the vigorous up-and-down pumping motion. That energetic shaking wasn't an expression of enthusiasm, it was a physical inspection, designed specifically to dislodge heavy daggers concealed within voluminous medieval sleeves. This ancient military DNA, the explicit proof of disarmament, is precisely why the gesture remains our global signal for the end of conflict today. When sworn enemies agree to peace, words are rarely enough to convince the public. A survival tactic built for armed warriors and diplomats doesn't naturally scale to the general public. For the handshake to become a daily habit, it required a significant societal update. In 17th century Europe, polite society operated on a rigid system of vertical status. You greeted others by bowing or doffing your hat, actions that immediately established who was the superior and who was the subordinate. The Society of Friends, a religious group better known as the Quakers, viewed these hierarchical displays as a violation of spiritual equality. They flatly refused to bow to anyone, regardless of class. Instead, the Quakers offered a simple handshake to everyone they met. By locking hands, the physical mechanics of the gesture pulled 2 people onto the exact same horizontal plane. Neither party can look down on the other. As global trade rapidly expanded, international merchants recognized the utility of this Quaker greeting. The handshake allowed a Dutch trader and an English supplier to instantly bridge religious, national, and class divides to finalize a commercial contract. By stripping away the medieval armor and the aristocratic bowing, the handshake became a mass-market social technology. It was cheap, universally understood, and perfectly optimized for commercial trust. Today, organizational psychologists note that a firm handshake establishes psychological safety. During a high-stakes encounter like a job interview, it physically signals openness and receptiveness, heavily influencing the interviewer's final decision. But the biological data suggests there is a hidden layer to this interaction. Contemporary neuroscience reveals that the handshake initiates a process called social chemosignaling. Look at this graph from a 2015 biological study on human greeting behavior. It tracks what subjects do immediately after physical contact. When people shared a handshake with someone of the same gender, the duration they spent subconsciously sniffing their own right hand more than doubled. After an opposite gender handshake, subjects increased the sniffing of their left, non-shaking hand by over 100%. This suggests that the physical grip facilitates an active, subliminal exchange of chemical signals. By touching hands, we are effectively sampling the other person's olfactory profile, adding a biological dimension to the way we evaluate trust in those around us. The modern problem is that the exact physical mechanism making the handshake powerful is simultaneously its greatest flaw. The 30 square inches of skin contact and the duration of the pump make it an incredibly efficient vector for bacteria. With 1 in 25 hospital patients acquiring an infection during their stay, infectious disease specialists argue the social benefit is no longer worth the biological cost. Meanwhile, across Europe, governments are ignoring the biological risk to exploit the gesture's cultural weight. Stripped of its Quaker roots of mutual equality, the handshake is being repurposed into a tool of state compliance. In 2019, Denmark passed a law requiring immigrants to shake hands with a public official during their naturalization ceremony. The policy deliberately targets religious minorities whose faith prohibits physical contact with the opposite sex, effectively barring them from citizenship over a momentary physical gesture. The 2,500-year-old protocol is fracturing. We are living in a paradox where the handshake is deemed a hazardous liability in our hospitals and a legally enforced mandate by our governments. The Western grip is not the only way to establish trust. Large portions of the globe operate on highly effective social protocols that bypass these physical and cultural collisions entirely. The Japanese bows signals respect without the transfer of a single microbe. The Indian namaste clearly communicates peaceful intent and mutual recognition while respecting religious boundaries regarding touch. Yet, a social technology with nearly 3 millennia of history, hardwired into our olfactory biology, will not simply vanish because we discovered the fist bump. It is losing its status as a mandatory mindless reflex, but when it is used in the future, it will carry far more weight, returning to its ancient roots as a deliberate, calculated risk, offered only when we genuinely want to signal trust.